Howdy there, St. Martin's community. Elsewhere in another video, I have talked about how literature reviews require us to look for threads in the literature to see how scholarly conversations are formed. Uh, Looking for things like what do scholars agree on or disagree on? What concepts do they seem to feel are critical in advancing knowledge in the field, etc. While I like the term thread because it is widely used in electronic communication and social media, others like the term theme, which works fine. That's just as well. I'm going to put a link to the video in the description below. However, last week in working with a student, I came across this paper, The Effects of a Father's Alcohol Misuse on the Well-Being of His Family, Views of Social Workers. And in looking at it, I noticed that this could be used as a good example to show how literature reviews address threads in the scholarly conversation. It's an openly published article, and I'll put the DOI down in the description below. But I thought this could be a good example, so let's take a look at it. All right, so I've pulled an excerpt for this video and pulled it into Word to make it a little easier to see. I've highlighted some passages also here that demonstrate key aspects of lit reviews that I want to point out. First, I ought to point out, I suppose, that this is a lit review that's part of a longer study rather than a freestanding lit review. So that's going to obviously affect its length. So just by way of review, let's recall that the function of a lit review is to report to readers that we, as authors, have heard scholarly conversations on our topics and to give our readers a good sense of the context we are responding to in our own work. So we would expect a lit review in this paper to help us understand the social context of alcohol misuse, how it can affect families, what experts in the field understand, and what concepts may still be under debate or in kind of in flux within the field. All right, so in this paragraph, it's good to see that the authors are pointing out that there's an ongoing discussion in the academic community regarding the difference between abusing and misusing a substance. On a practical level, it shows that the authors are very aware of this distinction, but they point out that they will follow a convention in the field regarding them as equivalent for the purposes of their study because it is not a significant distinction to the diagnosis of alcohol use disorder. On a kind of affective level, though, this move reinforces that the notion, that these two authors know the field well and are thus worth listening to. Right, so this second marked passage, I wanted to point this out because it points to a definition of alcohol misuse that they use in this study. While we don't need to spend time on the definition of each and every concept we engage with, having the wisdom to define crucial terms for the particular context is necessary. On a practical level, this helps us as readers understand, where the authors are grounding their arguments. As writers, right, this also can be another point where we can project this idea, I really know what I'm talking about. Alrighty. So this third marked passage is significant because it helps define the specific problem the paper addresses and gives us the why of the study. When thinking about lit reviews, we as writers need to be very aware of our situation. Why are we writing this lit review? Should it help readers understand a particular problem we hope to address? Should it help them understand the ways a field has changed in general over a period of time, like the last decade, etc.? Should it help readers understand the impact of an emerging theoretical perspective? Good literature reviews have a clearly defined context, clearly defined reasons for being written. These next two marked statements name the specific theoretical frame the authors use in understanding the problem, and then extend that to a specific effect within that frame. So it names family systems theory and then talks about the concept of family illness. Often in more focused lit reviews like this, highlighting a particular theoretical framework should be enough. Sometimes studies will examine ways a couple of frameworks can work together to illuminate findings or changes in the knowledge. If this were a larger standalone lit review, readers could expect that the writers would address the dominant or most significant frameworks in the field. In any case, theoretical frameworks are significant components of lit reviews. I find in the next marked passage a kind of extension of the harms that are part of the framework. Good lit reviews help readers understand as many aspects of the theory and application as is necessary for the purposes. All right, this next section of the paper, the authors note 3 ways that alcohol misuse affects different aspects of family systems, namely effect on the couple, parent-child relationships, and the siblings relationships. I really appreciate how the authors call attention to these 3 threads by writing about them under second-level headings. This makes it much easier for us to follow the logic of the paper and to be able to identify that. Many papers do not signal threads this clearly, but it would be nice, frankly, if they did. Thus, the important threads in this lit review are the following: a sense of how the field of study conceptualizes alcohol abuse and misabuse, the appropriateness of family systems theory for addressing the effects of father's alcoholism, the concept of family illness and the types of harm caused by it, alcohol's effect on the couple, alcohol's effect on the parent-child relationships, and alcohol's effect on sibling relationships. Now, the authors wrap up their lit review introduction section by including their research question, which ties back into their problem statement at the beginning of the 4th paragraph. This is a really nice move because it helps reinforce the purpose of the aim of the lit review as the paper moves into the methods section. So as readers, we can appreciate these kinds of efforts to help us understand the context and follow arguments, follow their logic. As writers of lit reviews, it can be well worth the time to think about how to clarify these contexts for our readers to help them follow our thinking. All right, so I hope this quick review kind of helps make the roles and aspects of the lit reviews a little bit clearer, at least within papers. Again, I wanted to try to offer an example to make it a little bit clearer what I mean by threads. Thank you very much.